You're listening to the iRacers Lounge podcast, where we discuss everything iRacing in a casual setting. Enjoy. To the iRacers Lounge, I'm your host, Mike Ellis. iRacers Lounge is a podcast for the iRacer, where we talk all things iRacing in a casual setting. Joining me are the usual characters, Brian McCubbin.
Hello, everybody. How you doing today?
David Hall.
Hello, hello.
Greg Hectus.
What up, everybody?
And Kyle Pendergraft.
Howdy.
Hey. Well, on this week's show, we'll recap the iRacing Pro Invitational, as well as many more great topics, and find out which Tifosi driver gets back-to-back NIS wins this week.
And remember, guys, you can follow along with us on your mobile device in real time as we discuss everything that's on the show for yourself. All the great topics and products we'll be discussing today, you can follow along on iRacersLounge.com and selecting show notes. So we hope to see you there.
Coming soon, Grid Finder 2.0, a complete overhaul to better suit the sim driver's needs, adding many new features to its already robust search functions, including allowed controller types, driver assist, race length, and whether leagues are currently recruiting. The changes don't stop with the league page. Grid Finder is also rebuilding the paint booth, commentary box, and the merchandise page. The site is still fully functional as they work through the beta phase to make sure the Grid Finder 2.0 launch is as slick as the new logo. Visit www.grid-finder.com to find a league or to upload your own. Grid Finder is the home of online sim racing leagues.
All right, guys, we're going to start off with topics today, and we're going to get some praise for Vicente Salas, who was the winner of last week's Richmond race at the Coke Series. He had a dominant performance, and Ryan Kish of Racer.com featured an online article on Vicente Salas after his dominant race, and you can check it out at their website, which is racer.com,
Vicente Salas,
and read the whole article about Vicente and how he fared in his race last week.
And his first career.
Yeah, very interesting article. I like it because Racer is covering sim racing, not just real racing. And this is a magazine really known for covering all motorsports. So first of all, I think it's really cool that they're covering Coke. But what I like about the article, Brian, a lot is some of the quotes that we get from Vicente. I'm going to read one of them here. He said, on a racing level, I think it made things a little tougher because we've raced so much with Garrett Maines, his teammate. He knows the way I race, the way I drive, and I know the way he races. Whenever we make a mistake, we each know the way to set up the move. We each had the run near perfect so that he didn't get by me or vice versa. And if he was in front of me, I wouldn't have gotten by him. So just interesting to hear some of the team dynamic, especially when they're running the same set. I mean, it's whoever's in front is probably going to win the race.
Yeah, that's right. And Richmond proved to be a tough track to pass on in general. But, if you're running a fixed setup or identical setup as they were doing, it makes it even tougher because you're a particular part of the track. You're probably running very similar lines. So, it's really hard to make that pass. And, they both had awesome runs, and I just think with Vicente out in front, I just don't think there was any way that somebody was going to get by him.
Yeah, led every lap. Think about that too. That's a rarity. Other Coke news this week: Kligerman Sport, not eSport. They renamed it. They tweeted out their latest edition of Mic Check after last week's Coke Series race at Richmond. This is kind of like the radioactive, where you hear the conversations between the spotters and the drivers.
Mic check.
And we hear both spotters talking to both drivers on this team. It's an interesting 2-minute video to give some insight about what they're talking about.
And welcome to round 6.
All right, driver, I got your.
Yeah, I enjoyed that quite a bit.
Good position,
Because it's a Klingerman tweet, it's only with their 2 drivers. It doesn't go around the whole field like you would see on the NASCAR open mics sessions that they do. But it's still, I love how well they communicate with the spotters in these races. It sounds just like you would hear if you had the season pass for NASCAR, listening to spotters and the crew chiefs talking to the drivers. I mean, it's virtually identical to what they do. It's really awesome to hear that, and it just goes to show you how much they put into these races.
Yeah, and Brian, you just recently did some spotting for me, and I'm sure we sounded much like they did on this recording.
I like to hope so, but I was pretty new to spotting. But it was a good time to do that. Yeah, it was fun. And the apps that you use for that spotters, either use the iRacing spotter, or if you use something like Crew Chief or equivalent, they give you the inside and outside stuff like that, but they don't give you the other information that's going on around you. They can't tell you that a car's got fresh tires that's coming up on you super fast, and sometimes you can't react to that fast enough just by using a spotter that's telling you somebody's high or low. So that kind of thing, you just can't get in these programs at this point, and it's something a real life spotter can really make a big difference on how your race goes.
Right, looking at the race as a whole, telling us what's going on with certain key people and whatnot. Yep.
They can do stuff like check what line a racer is running and tell you to try that line.
Right.
Yeah, there was in your race, Mike. There was a guy who was running right up by the fence, and man, he was really making up a lot of space, especially later in the run as tires were getting old. And I was letting you know that he was going up there and making up some serious time. And I think he tried it a little bit, but your set just wasn't made for that. But it was still good information to have.
Yeah. I knew he was coming because you were feeding that info to me, and yeah, we tried it. It wouldn't work.
All right, guys. Next up, we got Tyler Hudson, staffer, posted in the forums that he is taking schedule requests for the 87 stock cars, the NASCAR classic stock cars, the Silver Crown, the Super Late models, and Tour Modified series for the upcoming season 3. So if you're interested in putting in your 2 cents about what you'd like to see in the schedules in those 4 series, you can submit it to Tyler Hudson. You have to use the downloadable template that is found in the post that he put in. It's a spreadsheet type of post that you can download, fill in with what you'd like to see in those series, and send it back to them, and they'll take it into consideration.
Actually, it's all the series he's asking for. This was just a sampling. Instead of putting down 35 links in your script, Brian, I just grabbed about 4 or 5 of them just as a sample. But yeah, he literally posts in every single series forum. There's a forum list for every series, and he basically puts in there, hey, you guys figure out a schedule and let us know what you want, and we'll work with you on it.
Okay, yeah, I missed that part. Because I just saw the one that you had posted in the script. But that's really cool, where you can start to give your input, try to get the tracks in there you like, and you can even put times of days and stuff like that in there.
Right, and we've seen Tyler work with the communities, when other changes might be wanted, like, oh, we got to make changes to the heats, or we should have less tires or more tires, or less fuel or more fuel, or Those kind of things.
I guess we're at the point now. If they're asking for these schedules, we're getting pretty far into the season here, so they can get that stuff ready. So it just means it's about the same time they do it every season, right?
Yeah, we go over this every 90 days, basically.
Well, it's week 6. We're exactly halfway through.
So yeah, that's just basically setting it up for giving them some time to work on it, right?
And we're still getting hot patches. We got one today, and it's halfway through the season already. Let's talk NASCAR, guys. We're an iRacing show, but I guess we're a NASCAR show when they go iRacing. So it was a good race. I saw a good chunk of it there. Before the race started, though, it was about who was going to get into the race after all the hubbub last time with Timmy Hill. And not being, losing a sponsor over, not being able to run his sponsor. They came out with some different ways of filling the field, including a vote. And so they put up a vote, and Rajah Caruth was the vote winner, apparently, and was invited to the eNASCAR Pro Invitational. Now, I understand he was actually overseas doing Navy stuff as a Navy person, and they had to figure out a cockpit and screens and everything and a computer and ship it over there in time for him to get in the race, which was like 4 days later. So first of all, what's your reaction to the fan vote? Are you surprised it was this guy? I mean, I voted Landon Castle. I don't know about you guys.
Is it just because he's more of a mainstream name in the sim racing world kind of thing?
I think NASCAR was pushing his name, though. Even during the vote, I mean, they were putting his name out there. From what I saw.
Is this more to go with the Drive for Diversity stuff too, as well?
Yeah, he's in the Drive for Diversity. Yep.
And I guess to bring back to last week when you weren't here, Mike, we didn't understand that story with Timmy Hill, and that he lost that sponsor because he didn't get into that race. We didn't realize that was all about.
He got to run the race, but it was a Penske paint job.
Yeah, in the Pro Invitational race, he took over for Keselowski, right?
Right.
So he wound up riding Keselowski's car in colors and his sponsorship, and I guess that didn't fare too well with his real-life sponsors.
Exactly. He ended up losing them and not going to this last Cup race.
Do we know what the sponsor was at all? Like, did it conflict with what Keselowski's was?
I don't think it was a conflict, but no, I don't remember who it was. Now, the next thing that was a surprise with the entry list was Kevin Harvick came out and put out a video. Hey, we're going to put Keelan Harvick in the race. I don't know how old Keelan is. I would say 8 or 9 years old, maybe. 8. So first of all, you get the iRacers immediately responding, hey, there's an age limit in iRacing. You have to be 13 or older to have an iRacing account, right? But they make exceptions, right? And wouldn't this be like the perfect opportunity for an exception as a young man like this who actually has racing experience?
Saw a tweet recently that Elliott Sadler's son is also running quite a bit with a Class A license, I believe.
Don't you think this could be like an opportunity where they could get some of the kids for Jeff Gordon's got a young son, you got Clint Boyer's son, you got Larson's son. Like, you could get a whole bunch of them put together and maybe make a younger kids league too in here to kind of drive some stuff.
NASCAR kids.
Yeah, it would be kind of cool, wouldn't you think?
Also, a pretty simple criteria for the exception may be you can join younger if you have a family member that also owns an account.
I just think there's a lot more possibilities that way. I mean, Keelan obviously did pretty well, did he not?
He did. He showed well. He ran well. I mean, he didn't get a finish to show for it, but I mean, what an opportunity for a kid, let alone, he's the son of a NASCAR superstar. But besides that, I mean, what an opportunity to be 9 years old and to be in a race with all of the NASCAR guys. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it. No, but during the show, they had a camera where they would show Kevin and Keelan racing. They were had side-by-side cockpits about 8 feet apart. There was a little trash talk before the race where Keelan and his spotter were like, "We don't want you listening to us, Dad, because of our strategy." Other promotions but right before the race, iRacing put out a neat comment. It said, "It's like Carb Cup, but with pros. Don't miss it."
It's a pretty good description if you think about it, other than the cautions, which I think when I was watching the race, it was like, okay, they got to a point where like we're not going to have cautions anymore towards the end, and I think it was a time thing, but yeah, that's a pretty good description, Carb Cup with pros.
And so what'd you think of the race, Brian? We have a few key moments here in the script where so there were some wrecks. I guess it was pretty normal. It looked like a regular NIS race.
Yeah, I kind of thought it was pretty much what you would see on any NIS type of restrictor plate race. I'll tell you what, Boyer was just a hilarious to listen to. His commentary was just great. He's so funny.
Dale Earnhardt Jr. getting a big run.
That was really entertaining. He's in the cars doing these races too.
Yeah, it's a little slapstick for me. I mean, it is funny, but I just wish there was just a tiny bit more seriousness going on with this race, because Fox is kind of making it out as a joke almost, and I don't know. I just wish there was a little bit different spin on it, but there was a great video of Daniel Suarez literally driving through Clint Boyer. Pretty classic.
You should have kept him in front of you.
But in the end, it was Brad Keselowski who survives and claims the win. Now, that's not the story of the race. It was really Davison up there. Now, Davison, he was an IndyCar driver, and he's run some Xfinity, I believe, and stuff. I don't know why he's in this race, but he was, and he had the pole, and he kept it. And I think he led all but just like the last 4 laps. He got shuffled at one point.
Davison's the guy that was the pro that we were racing against.
We lost you.
He's the pro that Davison's the pro we were racing against in the 24 Hours of Daytona. He was their lead guy.
Right.
He's also recently switched his focus fully to NASCAR. He's not doing Indy anymore.
He had a good run, though. And Garrett Smithley was up there forever.
Now they've broken up.
I think running third. And then Kyle Busch in fourth. And guess what? I mean, the top 10 really didn't change spots throughout the race. It was just like Talladega NIS this week. It's hard to pass. If you pull out a line, you're going back pretty much.
Yeah, you got to have a lot of cooperation if you're going to run a second or third line there. I think that Davidson pretty much showed that, if you could get in the front and stay on the bottom line and nobody really forms up on the outside, you got a really good chance of, being there at the very end. Something we might want to think about going into Talladega this week, that's for sure. Another thing that was kind of interesting, they were calling it the Geico 70. It was a 70-lap race. I don't remember the other race having a commercial sponsor. Did they have
Geico
something
500.
like that? Yeah, I don't remember them having a commercial sponsor on the last Pro Invitational race. I could be wrong.
No, not on that race, but I mean Talladega normally has a sponsor. There's Geico
absolutely.
500.
Right. But they added the Geico 70, for the iRacing event.
So the way I kind of know how finances work in broadcast NASCAR, but for Fox to call it that means Geico paid Fox some fee, or Fox would have never said that.
Absolutely, yeah.
Or it was built, or if it was built into to a contract earlier in the season, right?
Right. Maybe they negotiated it up front, or hey, the track, we're going to try to help promote Talladega, so we're going to promote their sponsor, by saying their sponsors out loud or whatever.
Well, and I'm pretty sure they're not going to turn down any sponsorship money at all that they can right now. They're going to grab everything they could possibly get, especially at this time with no fans and things like that.
Well, what's Fox's motivation for this series? Well, it's midweek content that they normally don't have. They already are paying their talent, Mike Joy and everybody. They're going to get paid no matter what. So, it's a money grab. They're there to make money. That's their thing. My
question is, did Gordon and them sign on to do midweek races as well, or is this added in afterwards into their contract? When they
do they get
stuff?
paid extra?
Yeah, you never know. It's kind of like fishy stuff like that later on, right?
When you're on salary, man, you just do what you're told.
Yeah, but those guys are stars. They're not going to get a change in their deal without them agreeing to that change in their deal.
Yeah, it's like how when we have to write David's contract up to come on here.
I want a raise. I want a 1,000% raise.
Okay, let's show us what you got.
Right now, 0. So I want that raised 1,000%.
I think that's still 0, Dave.
That was my transition to the next story.
It's Dave's turn.
Really? Did we talk about the YouTube video?
Yeah, there's a NASCAR actually on their official YouTube channel. They posted all the highlights from that Talladega race. So yeah, they're getting involved in a big way, putting it on their main YouTube channel. So yeah, just more NASCAR backing iRacing and their series and showing them that there's quite a lucrative partnership between the two companies.
One thing I noticed during the broadcast was the no iRacing logo during the race, like in the bottom corner, like the watermark. It wasn't there.
Right, and iRacing came out with those new stipulations for that, but one of the things they said about that watermark was that it was unless previously agreed upon type of deal. And when they're dealing with like a big company like Fox, that kind of thing's been worked out to where they don't have to run that if they don't want to.
The other thing is, after the race, the winning interview with Keselowski, he was complimentary of the package. He was talking about the bubble, talked about the side draft a little bit. He said it felt, I think, something along the lines of it felt accurate. But he hasn't raced in all year since the last Pro Invitational, and apparently he mentioned that TJ Majors came over and helped him set up the rig just literally hours before the event started.
Then he goes out and wins it.
Right, with no practice, so like some of the other guys.
We're talking about practice.
That's like Mike, just show up right before the race and win a damn thing.
Except for Mondays, like he shows up and actually puts in laps after having run NIS all week.
Yep. Now, what's interesting too is about the Pro Invitational this year. The same car has won both races, right? Oh no, Timmy didn't win. No, Timmy ran Brad's paint, but he didn't win. Okay, I'm mistaken.
That's right. Yeah, I think William Bryan won, right?
Yeah, William.
Well, speaking of paints, this paint is kind of probably my new favorite iRacing style paint. Majeski's going to Dell's, and he tweeted a video of his iRacing sponsored super late model that he's taking up there to Wisconsin this Sunday. And it looks really good with the logo on the black car. Typically, it's been seen more on the either white or red, white, and blue. I really like this one. It looks real slick.
This is definitely different than the other one that we were critiquing a couple weeks ago. because it was a white car with that red or with that green logo, right? Green and orange.
With the logo on white is what I remember.
Yeah, and now it's on black, which looks a lot better for those two colors to go together.
And one subtle thing is on social media, you'll notice iRacing's logo has changed to a black background instead of white. All right, next up, a mention about the Wild West Motorsports Park in Nevada. Regrettably posted on their Facebook account that they are closing due to unfortunate circumstances, and goes on to thank its fans, sponsors, promoters, and race teams. And so that was April 12th. Now we have this track in iRacing for the pro trucks. iRacing did tweet out a response. While we are sad that they are closing in real life, it does live on forever in iRacing. Check out this awesome side-by-side finish for the win from member Jack Breaker. It's cool that we got the scan before the business took it away.
Yeah, and that's one of the really cool things that iRacing can do. We've seen them bring back extinct tracks like North Wilkesboro, and now they're going to be able to hold on to a track that's no longer there, and so you can relive that track past its expiration date in real life.
All right, next up, we get a picture from Tyler Williamson, our teammate, out spending his money. This time, a Authentics Diecast Chase Elliott truck, the iRacing 24. And that was the winner at the North Carolina Educational Lottery 200.
Yeah, I've been to Tyler's house. He's got a really good collection of diecast cars. So this will fit right in. He's got a lot of cool Earnhardt stuff. It's really neat.
I've always wanted to buy an iRacing diecast. I just haven't done it. But I don't know. Maybe it's time.
I keep putting it off, but I'd like to take one of our actual cars and get the custom diecast. And we have a sponsor who does that kind of stuff over at Elite West. We may have to try that out at some point.
Yeah, I was going to say something about that. How cool it would be to have your own car from iRacing in a diecast. And does somebody do that? Is there any kind of copyright restrictions that they do when it comes to making a custom diecast?
If it's your paint, I don't think so.
It's not like you're selling it.
Yeah, I was going to say if it was like a mass amount, they might be considered or not like it. But if it's only one or two products, it's not something to go after somebody for, right?
And there are multiple companies that do it. We covered one a couple of years ago, I believe.
Yeah, Kyle Putz does them. If you look him up, he can make one for you.
So even if you're using a real life product, it doesn't matter then, huh?
I don't think he will turn it down. No.
I wonder if anybody actually has this next one as a diecast collection.
But the 40 unique Diecasts?
Yeah. So apparently, Davin, who's at Drive-Thru on Twitter, he says he live streamed a simulated 500 Daytona 500 race, but all the 40 cars were different, unique variations of Danica Patrick paint schemes. So the whole race was all Danica Patrick cars, all 40 of them, and somehow she still managed to lose the race. I don't know how that happened.
Come on now. That's uncalled for. She's got more talent in her left pinky than you do.
Oh.
No, this is kind of cool though. Like,
easy.
that's a lot of time and spent on painting those, because it's not easy to do that many.
Especially when you're doing paint paint recreations instead of just doing something based on lines that are already built into one of the templates.
Well, and if you look at this, like, I don't know, there's probably 12 of the cars on the screen are pretty much the green and black variation, like, but they're just little subtle differences on them. But how much time went into doing all this? I'd like to know that answer for that.
Yeah, I'm assuming that he researched each individual variation and painted it up. So yeah, he must have quite a collection in his folder of Danica Patrick paint schemes. It's pretty intense. He must be a pretty big fan, I guess.
Should have put her IndyCar that she won in at Japan in there too.
You got 120 responses of people guessing which one. Basically, they just screenshot and crop in on the one that they pick, and then reply to the Twitter with that picture. And trying to see if there was a winner picked or not. I don't see it, but maybe you can still vote.
That they, it's a Ford and Chevy field all the way through because of the two manufacturers she drove for. But some of the paints are on Chevys that were on Fords. All right, so the next topic we got here, it's the 26 mile an hour death shake. So Terry Silvers says that when leaving the pits, slowing for the pace car, or just in general, slowing down to about 26 miles per hour, the wheel shakes like 10,000 times more than any collision or speed bump. He's using a Fanatic V 2.5 wheelbase, and I guess he's got his force feedback only at 8. I guess he's put this in the forums, and David Tucker has replied and said they're going to work on it. So I don't know. Have any of you guys felt this in the wheel? In the last?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, when I read this, I'm like, whoa, wait, that happens to me. I thought it was just me. I thought it was some quirk of my wheel or something. I kind of ignored it. But when I read this post, I'm like, yes, that happens to me. At 26 mile an hour, my wheel will violently shake just for like a second, and then it goes away.
Was there a specific car this was in, or just in general?
No. In general. So I don't know if it's a particular, is it Fanatec or is it, what is it? But yeah, I definitely experienced this.
Does this maybe have to do with what last week where they were talking about Logitech taking that True Force to screw something up?
I don't think so. When David Tucker said Dave is working on this, and he's referring to Dave Kamer, the tire guy. So I think it has to do with tires.
Yeah, I have Fanatic stuff, and I did notice it too. So I thought it was pretty odd that when somebody else mentioned it, I thought it was just something in my own personal settings that was making it happen. But now I'm trying to think that it must be a software issue or something.
Right. When, these kind of things, you think, oh, I just don't have the right settings, or I need to turn down the damping or something, or something's not right. But then when you hear other people saying the same thing, you're like, oh, wait a minute. Yeah, that's happening.
Next, we're going to meet the future of esports. Or better yet, if you check this YouTube video out, you can do so yourself. YouTuber Penguin Z0, he posted a video of his father who has gotten into iRacing. And he describes his lifelong love of cars and racing, and how iRacing was a natural progression. I didn't really get to watch the video as I got home from driving bus routes 5 minutes before showtime. But I scanned through, and it's pretty neat. He's probably a little older than Mike, I'm guessing, probably in his 60s, 70s. But that's one of the neat things about iRacing, is it allows people to stay in the sport even long after they've aged out.
Or join the sport long after they've aged out. Yeah. It was I did watch the video. The host of it, the Penguin Z0 guy. He's very entertaining. He really has fun with his dad, and his dad's doing pretty good. He's beating like real drivers, and having a great time. He talks about his history growing up. He was really into cars, did a little bit of racing when he was young, and now he's getting back into it. He says he's got his the volume turned up really loud, so it's really loud in the house. It was a good video.
It was interesting because the kid, I mean, he's got 8 million subscribers. I don't really know what his channel's about, but it's not about his dad, and he doesn't know a lot about racing. And some of the questions he asked his dad about what's going on are interesting. Like, Dad, why is there a 3 after your name? And he's like, I have no idea, actually.
Yeah. I noticed that too. I thought that was funny. So yeah, it was those little quirks that you already know about that they're talking about, and they're trying to figure out. It's entertaining to watch.
Yeah, I definitely hit home for me. It reminds me of me and my son a little bit, because when my son's over here and I'm trying to tell him about iRacing, this and that, and he doesn't have a clue, what we're doing. But it was pretty identifiable to the older generation. Neat video at a Penguin Z0, I guess it is. Next up, we have a poll. John Flowers opened up a poll in the forums asking members what feature they'd like to see next. And so results he put down, the options for voting were rain and wet track, flat spotting of tires, ambience, like winning and wrecks, new damage model on all vehicles, or improved tires. And we got a tie pretty much, 3-way tie pretty much, between rain, flat spotting of tires, and improved tires.
I would say flat spotting of tires would be more important on the road side. It wouldn't really have a huge deal in the oval side of it.
Really?
Well, you're not...
Yeah.
On an oval track, how many times on an oval track are you going to lock up your and flat spot tires compared to a road course?
Wrecks and stuff. Yeah, road courses you can do it on any turn pretty much, right?
But
you've not been in a short track race with me then before.
chatter. Martinsville and Richmond, come play at those again.
I was going to say, I think the flat spotting maybe should go with the improved tires in general, kind of as a whole. But I don't think we're going to see rain and wet track for a little while here. I know we're going to cover it in a bit here, but I don't think you're going to see that. That's probably one of the bigger undertakings they're going to take here. But it's good to see that, people are wanting more of the details of what makes the racing good rather than kind of, the ambience and the atmosphere, or the ambience and the atmosphere stuff to take a back seat to it all.
There's certainly a theme week to week this year. People want tire changes, man.
Got to get off those bricks, right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know if we're looking back at what was the V6 tire versus the V7, but I think people are reminiscing a little bit.
Maybe they should feel what the original felt like and then feel happy that we have a tire model.
I'm surprised the new damage model didn't get more votes than that. I would have thought that would have been pretty popular with people taking this poll.
I think the damage model, the hardest thing is they're so far behind on the amount of cars they have, right? It's going to be easier if they get caught up and when they bring new cars in to just add it with the new car as they come in. But what are they, like 65 cars into this, 70 cars or more? And I think it's going to be difficult for them to ever catch that up.
Yeah, and then they release a couple every build or something, and then Well, sometimes they pull them back off the table too.
What was one of the things that somebody wanted to vote for, Brian, that wasn't in the list?
Yeah, one of the things that people added to their wish list that wasn't on the poll was that they wanted to be able to host AI races. So as of right now, you can set up an AI race and race it on your own, but you can't host one to add other drivers to come join your AI race. So if I wanted to host a race with a buddy of mine, we'd have to just put it out there and try to get people to join. Whereas with AI racing, you could set up like a full 40-caller field or something and just have you and your buddies race with all these other AI cars. And I think this is something I would probably vote for more than anything else on the list, because I think it has a lot of potential to keep people interested in different ways.
All right, but my question about it is why would someone want to do the hosted AI on iRacing if like NASCAR Heat 5 has it? I mean, what would be the difference there?
I think the bigger difference, Kyle, is what people are wanting to do is getting a full field, like what we had when we had the other night when we did our hosted session. You host hoping to get 40 people in. If they don't get in, you have a way of adding AI to fill the field so you can have an enjoyable race, right?
I got you. Okay.
So that would be cool. Like if it's you put up a hosted race, you only get 20 people join, and right before qualifying, it adds 20 more AI people, so you have a field of 40.
I just think that would probably be more enjoyable for some of these leagues to just, you guys race. I don't that Monday night race is a league. Is it a full league? Is it full? Almost. I mean, you notice by some leagues, by the time you get to the end of a season, it kind of drags off. If you could keep the field still there, it kind of balance the points up. Because I always found in a league race is like, okay, you get 40 people show up at the beginning of the season, and when you're trying to run for a points championship, you get the points there, and then when only 20 show up, if you have a really bad race, it kind of screws up points and things like that to tally for you. I just think if you had AI, it might help those leagues out a bit.
That'd be cool, I think. I mean, 37 people show up, let's add 3 AI, so we have a full field. But then I was thinking, well, you go through this league race, what if one of the AI wins?
Just means you guys aren't good that race. I can see that happening if they went like an AI race at, we got COTA coming up in a couple weeks. If you had AI and with a bunch of guys that aren't good at road or something, and AI would just maybe trounce everybody.
What about the rain?
Well, Stephen Jones asked in the forums if the rain had been put on the back burner, because we haven't really heard about it in the last little while. And Tyler Hudson replied that they definitely are still working on it, but there's so many variables that they're looking into to do it correctly. It's going to take them time, and that's what I was saying before. If you think that the tire model is one thing that they're trying to get right, like trying to get a tire to work on wet in the rain and surfaces change, because you're going to have, like, if you think of, you got standing water, if you run through a puddle, the different braking zones, you got to run on an outside line if there's a dry line to try and keep rain tires to cool down. Like, there's so many different variables that you got to think of in a wet race. Like the grass, like if you get off into the grass, is it going to be tough to get out of the grass more than it would be in any other race? Like, there's just a lot of variables.
I'm excited for it. Tyler did mention once it's done, people will probably avoid rainy weekends after the new wears off.
Well, and David, I don't know if you saw in that post there when they had the poll up, someone suggested, would you like to see road have cautions for some of the road events? Or do you want to, or are you thinking maybe do it the way that some of those leagues do it? Can't hear you.
Yeah, well, so many incidents causes a caution, like automatically.
One way or the other, definitely. It's just that there's a little bit of dullness to the endurance races when you can't pack the field back together, right? The certain number of incidents is a good way. They could also have something where they try to determine if a car is stuck on the track for a long enough amount of time, or they could have it just if a certain number of incidents happen within a period of time, right? There's several different ways that you could decide whether or not a caution is warranted.
But as we were saying before, I'm curious what the staying power of wet tracks would be. You know, it's going to be a novelty at first for a while, and it'll probably get a lot of participation. But you know, is that what people are going to gravitate towards if the novelty is worn out and you have the option of running a wet track versus a dry track, or
what you're saying there, Brian? I think what might happen is that you might not even know you're getting into a server at some point that it's going to have rain. Like, are we going to have a weather report before you sign up for a race? So that you know, is that a possibility of rain coming in that event for you? Or are you not going to know until you get into the race? Or what? Like, imagine if you signed up for 2 races in the week and there's there's like an NIS. Say there was a road course and they have rain and there's 4 NIS opens. What happens if you only can race 2 of them that week and both of the ones you happen to get into end up raining or something?
If it generates randomly, you mean before a session opens up? Yeah, and what if that happens and you find out it's going to be a wet race and you're like, I really don't like doing the wet tracks. I'm just not going to do this race. Is that going to hurt participation in something like that?
And think about how some of the cars that are really, really hard to drive lose out in popularity.
Yes. So, from what they're saying, is this is a large undertaking to really get wet tracks and rain done properly. What if they put all this time and effort into this, and it turns out to be something that people don't really want to do after it's been released?
I think what needs to be the majority of what's going to happen with the rain is obviously. Hosted sessions would use it mostly, and then you'd have to sparingly use it in mixed in with whatever events you are able to do it with. Because the other thing is all these tracks are different surfaces and things like that. So I just think that to try and get rain under the amount of different things that are in iRacing, it's probably their biggest undertaking of all of it compared to besides doing a tire model. But I think if you use it sparingly, it won't lose its appeal. But if you all of a sudden throw it at, it's like if you threw, like when you did a Coke Speedway, if you ran it all week or had it for the first couple of weeks on it and you kept racing, it might lose its appeal. I think if you just get it in there right and with the right cars, you're probably better off. But you're right, you could lose its appeal, and then what was the point in thousands and thousands of man hours working on it?
How do you decide what's sparingly? I mean, I think in official racing, you would maybe have it triggered off of real weather in real world at a particular track. So you're at COTA, it's early May, it's May 1st, and it's raining on Monday and Tuesday. So if you run Monday, Tuesday in the sim, you're going to have rain, but on Wednesday there wouldn't be rain, and it literally follows real world weather. That way it is sparingly. It is real.
Okay.
Well, see, like Tiger Woods games, they I can't remember what year it was, but they would put it to where if you want to play on a certain course and whatever the time of day it was, whether the weather was like, it had a live update and you would play in those conditions.
Using the real weather update will work for the series like NIS that are strictly going with the real schedule, but your A Opens, your IMSAs, they don't always line up with the real life schedule.
Well,
Then you look at previous year.
and what I was thinking, Mike. Okay, what happens on a January morning in Montreal, in Canada here? It wouldn't be. I hate to tell you,
Snow,
it wouldn't
right?
be. It wouldn't be rain that'd be falling.
Now, could this be something they run beta through just hosted sessions only for a while just to test it?
I'm sure that when they release something like this would be like the damage model. There's going to be taken back and fix it. Like it's almost like its own engine type of thing, like to try and get it to work, because it's a separate. It's a whole separate thing. Like most of the time, we're used to cloudy or sunny. That's it. Now you're changing the whole physical nature of the whole event for every single track and every single car that it's possible with.
Well, I kind of agree that maybe not back burner, but there's other things that are more important. So that pretty well covers that. Go ahead, Brandon.
I was going to add one quick thing. I think it could be really interesting in these endurance races when you have a 24-hour session and the weather can change during the race. I think that could prove to be a little bit more realistic, not realistic, but more exciting, and something you have to cope with in a long race like that.
Well,
Yeah.
that would put strategy in who you put behind the wheel too, right? Like
Right.
if you only had one person that was like really comfortable racing in the rain, and say in the middle of the night it all of a sudden started raining, is that person available?
And you can you might have to plan pit stops around changing weather situations as well.
Do you remember how much trouble the real Cup car guys had when they went to the rain the first time?
Oh yeah, when the weather started changing in the middle of the race, and they had those rain tires on, they were just ripping them apart.
I think the thing with the Cup cars, and they're realizing it now, is they have a rain tire that was built, I don't know, it's like 10 years old for the technology that they have in it. They have no technology in it. Like if the technology that goes into those IMSA cars for the rain tires would be a lot easier to cope with and wouldn't be as bad. The Cup cars aren't built to run in it.
It's not just that. The other thing that's in those IMSA cars is drivers with rain experience.
And also a lot of downforce.
Yeah. But let's move on. Patch notes. We had a recent patch, season 2. This was patch 4, right? Got a lot of little updates, some stuff with the UI banner. The clock's easier to see when you're in the dark mode. They made some adjustments to race series where you can see when the race week actually starts. They've also made it where you can see how many people are required for a race to go official in the UI now. And what's interesting, I actually didn't know this. You can actually still gain safety rating when a race doesn't go official. I thought that once it didn't go official, that it was a complete just race if you want and not worry about it.
OSR still counts, yeah.
Yeah,
Kinda like a time trial.
So that's good to know. And the next time you happen to be in a race that's unofficial, might as well soak up the safety rating, right? They fixed an issue with the time of day bubble that was not showing up. Several issues in hosted racing. Something to do with weight penalty, as well as how it was showing up on the racing schedule. They did some work on test drive, helped out the league, and fixed an issue with an empty column in the paint shop.
I think the release was really for this next one, David, though, to turn back on the True Force Logitech stuff because they had to turn that off.
Yeah, they also brought back the damaged model for the Arca car. And then there's some gearing changes in the Cup cars.
For Darlington.
Darlington.
And a couple of adjustments to advertisements at Kansas and Dega.
Yep, and so that was patch 4, and then today we got patch 4 Hotfix 1 that came out this morning. There was an issue where they would crash to the desktop when moving from practice to a race server for some people, and so that was a significant issue. So they did put out a hotfix, and they did revert the Thrustmaster one wheel API display. So that new Thrustmaster wheel we're going to talk about later in the show, it has a display. He had to turn that off because it was causing problems, but it's just temporary. And I just covered the system crash. So next up, Summer Bowl. Greg.
So the eRacing Association will be sponsoring the EPM Omega Cup on the 10th to 12th at COTA with a $5,000 prize on the line, or for prize cash on the line. So this is it's interesting to see with a big cash prize like that. Wow. I think Morley and I both said that we're gonna throw our hats into it and go race here because we love this track. I don't know if David said he was gonna do it either.
I'm way behind on everything right now. The last couple of weeks at work have actually been pretty hectic.
He's down to 20 races a day.
May 10th through the 12th.
Go back and actually look at my results, and you'll see. It hasn't been 20 races a day at all.
All right, next up I got the SRF. Greg West announced in the upcoming Season 3 update the Spec Racer Ford will be transformed into a third-generation race car with an upgrade to the chassis and performance of the new model. He gave some other details of what those significant changes are. There'll be a new radial tires using the latest iRacing physics model. This includes updates to match closely to more closely match the Hoosier measured sizes. There'll be more horsepower, 135 versus 105, so about 30% more. The overall vehicle weight is reduced 7%. There's a new 6-speed sequential dog ring gearbox that replaces the old 5-speed H pattern. Temperature sensitive brake pads for the first time on this car. And the car model was developed with the help of top iRacing sim and real SCCA drivers. The baseline setup was developed with input from real world and sim development drivers. Lap times are roughly 5% faster.
Now, what grabs my attention on that is temperature-sensitive brake pads. That's the first time I've actually heard that as a factor in iRacing.
Well, and that sounds like you're going to have more of an input on how well you can, like the driver can determine how well his car is going to operate if you can get those brakes at optimal temperature to race that race.
Like if you abuse the brakes or something, then they fade because they're too hot?
Well, and like if you don't get them hot enough, like when you have cold brakes in a real car, like a real race car, when you go and put your foot on the pedal to try and stop it the first time in the corner, it ain't gonna stop. It's not instant like we're doing right now. Like even the Cup guys, when you see them rocking back and forth, up and down, just trying to get some heat in the brakes, because that also generates heat into the tires and stuff like that too.
Yeah, the rocking back and forth is for the tires. All you got to do to heat brakes up is drag them.
I meant accelerating and braking.
All you got to do is accelerate and drag the brake while you're. But I've never heard of that really making a difference in the Cup car.
Well, I can speak from experience on that one because, well, I won't say the Cup car, but in iRacing, I know it makes a big difference. 9 times out of 10, if it's a mile and a half or smaller, I'll drag the brakes on the pace laps, and you hear the brake change from a high squeak to basically nothing, and you can actually feel the difference when getting into the corner.
Yeah, but are you thinking that it's the first time I've heard it actually deal with the actual temperature. I'm wondering if you're what you're feeling is they may change the squeal, but is it actually changing the tire pressure, which is giving you the sensation that it's different because you can generate heat through the brakes into the tire model.
Exactly. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I don't see any real-time information that says it's, upping the air pressure as it's building heat. I just know that I can actually feel a difference getting into the corner.
While we're talking about brakes, we have a YouTube video talking about brakes. Driver 61 Sim Racing, he posted this one. And he basically talks about mistakes that you might be making while braking. And back when we were at Daytona Road, I actually went ahead and took a lesson with Bobby Zielinski on the Daytona Road course in the Cup car. And the main issue that he found with my lap was the braking, not the accelerating. It was what was causing me to overcompensate with the accelerating. So this is a good video to look for the major mistakes that you're going to make when you're braking at a road course. And this guy is using sports cars, but it'll help taking that Cup car onto the road as well.
It can't hurt to watch it, that's for sure.
Well, and he's using a different sim to prove the point as well. Different sims.
Is he using a different push-to-talk button? You cut out, Greg. We didn't hear all of your sentence.
Oh, I just said he's just using different sims.
Yeah, Driver 61 has a regular channel and a sim racing channel. He's big into F1 and stuff like that. And he has a lot of good videos on his regular Driver 61 channel as well. But his sim racing channel is separate and has a lot of good tips like this.
This next track is just really hard to remember where all of those breaking points are.
Yeah, that's right. Because coming up is Greg West posted in the forums the details of the upcoming 24 hours of Nürburgring, which is this weekend, including some balance of power updates that were coming.
Yeah, we've talked about this on a previous show, I think, but this is just a reminder that, hey, it's this weekend.
Yeah, so there's 4 different time slots starting Friday afternoon till Saturday morning. So typical endurance race, D license 4.0 or better. The sim time of day is start time is 2:45 p.m. So you're going to have a mid-afternoon start. It's going to go 24 hours, obviously. So looks like as far as the balance of power goes, the BMW is going to take a 1.5% hit to power adjustment. Fuel capacity is going to be at 99% on the BMW. Mercedes has a 99% fuel capacity. In the GT4 cars, the BMW has a 96 or 98% fuel capacity. The GT4 Porsche will have a 5 kilogram weight penalty.
It's such minor changes, it amazes me that they come up with these. I mean, the amount of data they must pour over just to figure out which car needs to be changed and by how much,
Yeah, because you're talking just a couple percents here and there on different things. Well,
and I think this has come off of, I think it was Spa that David and them, they had that advantage with that McLaren. McLaren would go an extra lap over all the other GT3 cars and that's where these balance of power things come in play, where they have to get it just right so that there is no advantage like that. The thing I thought was funny looking at this, Brian, it's 2 laps, but they give you 25 minutes to complete the 2 laps.
Yikes. Just the outlap alone is 10 minutes or something, right?
You're basically just getting it done, I think, between all three. I think it's 24, it would be 24 minutes. I think it's like an 8-minute lap.
No, isn't this the track where they start you near the end of the lap?
Oh, yeah, they would, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
Well, that's good that you don't have to run a whole lap warm up.
Also, when you're practicing, if you reset, you don't always go back to the very beginning of the track.
So nobody here's doing that, correct? Are you doing it, Dave or Greg?
I'm just not interested in learning that track yet.
This seems like something down the road. Maybe next year try. Maybe get 4 or 5 guys to do this. But I don't really have any interest in trying to run and learn that track. And it would take... It's not something I could just jump in and learn it.
Yeah, it would take several months to get it down right, I think.
Last year, they were talking like they were going to need me to run it for Elite West. And, it's just so frustrating. You know, I think it took me 2 hours to actually set an incident-free lap, where I actually set a lap time for over 2 hours of just constant mistakes. And as soon as Richie said we got it covered, I was I threw a party or something. I was pretty relieved.
Yeah, you got to practice something like that.
This race might have a lot of good bloopers coming out of it.
So, should we nominate for some bloopers now? We'll just, I guess Fox Sports iRacing coverage got for their Pro Invitational Series. I guess this is from last season. Got nominated for best esports coverage in the category. So they're going up against things like Call of Duty, League of Legends, Overwatch. So that's some heavy hitters to try and go up against in the esports category. So I don't know if Iris or Fox will win it, but it's definitely good to be nominated
for outstanding esports coverage. Pretty cool to see iRacing get nominated for an Emmy. Who would have thought? Less than a little more than a year ago, they weren't really a broadcaster, if you don't count the Coke series, but here they are, maybe going to win an Emmy.
The broadcast might have gotten nominated for the Emmy, but the racing shouldn't have.
Take away the fast repairs.
Yeah. So I thought it was kind of interesting. All the other nominees, like the Call of Duty and all that stuff, they're all like YouTube, Twitch, and Twitch stuff. The iRacing is the only one that's actually like a broadcast production. So I didn't even know that the Emmys would go to a Twitch or a YouTube product, presentation. Right.
Yep. And so congratulations was out on the Twitter to NASCAR, iRacing, Fox Sports on that Sports Emmy nomination for the outstanding esports coverage. I was thinking, who's going to get the trophy, though? I mean, I think it should be Drew Adamson. he's the guy doing the nitty gritty, right?
Yeah, not to mention, isn't the guys at iRacing in their own separate booths, working in conjunction with Fox on these? So wouldn't they have some part of that as well?
Exactly. I don't think it just. I think it's. I don't know. Is it Fox that's nominated? Is it iRacing? Is it both as a team? But yeah, it's definitely a team event. I mean, Drew and his team were producing the video that was being shown, and then Fox is overlaying, vocals and different and scoring over top of that.
Yeah, exactly. Well, the nomination says for Fox FS1, but that just refers to what platform it was broadcasted on, not necessarily who produced it as much.
Well, it'll be no different than the other things that we're talking about in that nomination about YouTube and Twitch. Their Twitch and YouTube aren't producing it. It's someone else that's producing it. Twitch and them are just the one that that they're just providing the video output, right?
Yeah, that's exactly right. Twitch really doesn't have anything to do with that other than giving them a platform to produce their show.
Well, we have a YouTube video here next. It's actually a full race. Guess who's back? iRX is back. We have the iRX All-Star Invitational. It's presented by Yokohama, and it was kicked off at round 1 at Brands Hatch, with the first win going to the French driver Johan Harth.
I actually watched some of this. I kind of caught it by surprise, and I was entertained. It was fun to watch.
Yeah, it kind of snuck up on me when I saw it in the script. I hadn't even heard that it was starting back up. They had some drivers that we would know, like Kevin Ellis Jr. from the Porsche E-Cup series or Super Cup series. Vicente Salas was in this race. So had some guys from the series we've been covering.
I was gonna say the rally roadside, the dirt roadside, is pretty much one of the more under talked about part of iRacing. Like, there's the reason that this snuck up on it is just we don't talk very much about the rally side of iRacing. It's got less and less coverage now as the years gone on with it. They've added tracks, but we just don't seem to have much going on with it.
Yeah, this is a good 2 hours and 20 minutes of coverage. I didn't watch all of it, but what I did watch was entertaining. I hadn't seen this particular track. It's one of the newer ones that I haven't purchased. And it was fun to watch. The suspense around the Joker lap is really a key in this kind of racing. Is hey, who's taking the Joker and when? Is like, that is the strategy,
Brian, I'm really disappointed you didn't actually give me this topic.
I was going to shoot it over to you once I got started there, Dave, because this comes from Parker Kligerman on Twitter, and he tweeted a poll as to whether or not sim racing is a workout. So, Dave, why don't you give us your thoughts as the residential Hercules?
No. However, be careful about turning your force feedback too high, because you can suffer a repetitive stress injury from it. I had to spend about 4 weeks rehabbing a forearm tweak after doing a long race at a short track in kind of an IndyCar style car, where it was just so much frequent turning. By the end of the race, my arm was hurting, and then I turned around right after the race and went to the gym and did some deadlifts, and for the next 4 weeks had elbow issues. But it's a combination of just overuse. Generally, it's not exercise as compared to actually being in a car, a real life car, or at a gym.
Well,
I don't know. I work up a sweat.
yeah, that's
Come,
right.
come to the gym with me. We'll get you sweating.
So 1,400 people voted, and 63% say it is a workout. And I personally will say it is a workout, but not much, just a little.
Well, what do you define as a workout? Does a workout have to be physical? Because there's a lot of mental that could go into a mental workout. It's putting exertion on you.
I'm definitely working on the guns over here with my DD1.
I thought it was when just trying to get your wheel off your base.
I can't rip it off if I try.
I bet you Dave could. No, I think it can elevate your heart rate. Maybe if you were to consider that a workout, I wouldn't consider it like a strenuous workout or anything. But it can elevate your heart rate, and it can give you a little bit of little
Cardio.
arms workout. Yeah, give your arms a little bit of workout if you have strong enough feedback on there. But other than that, I think I would say no.
I would say, yeah, breathing and heart rate will increase, like if you're walking or a slow jog or something.
I was gonna say this seems like the same argument that we have with like other sports. Is racing a sport or thing? It's like is racing sim racing physical? Well, it depends on the type of person you are. Some people it could be more physical too, and then someone like the difference between David's body type and my body type. It could be more physical for me compared to David, right?
Well, I mean, I get a heart rate up, but not anywhere close to the same when I'm on a drum set, right? Or even just walking around. Real racing, what makes it physical is the G forces and the temperature, right? Dale Jr. was just talking on his podcast how he'd lose 5 to 10 pounds per race just in water weight.
Right. From sweating it out.
If you were asking me about real racing as opposed to sim racing, I would say definitely. Not only is it a workout, but it is a physical activity.
I'm not. What I was saying is, it's the same type of argument where you get the people that it is a workout for, and then the people that say it's not. That's all I was comparing. I wasn't saying it was actually like real racing. Anything that you're doing, anything. Technically, anything that's over normal body, like when you're training the wheel and you got some resistance to it, you're technically working out. It may not be burning a lot of calories, but you are still working out if there's a resistance to anything at all, and you're doing it for a span of time. And I know the direct drive wheels have now changed the game for that too, where you're a little bit more. I just think that something like this is you're getting people like, well, it's not the big honking workout that I do in the gym where I lift 600 pounds and I'm a big buff guy. It's a different thing. It's no different than someone taking stretchy bands to work out and create a little bit of resistance. I just think it's however you want to interpret it is the way it is. I believe it's a workout, and someone might not believe it's a workout.
Let's talk about what's broken, or is it broken?
Well, and you guys are going to have to be the one to help me with this because I haven't yet been able to get into one of these races. So I don't know if you want to take this one over, Mike, instead and go through it just because you have firsthand experience with it.
Well, is the Talladega package broken? Of course, we're talking about it in the forums. There's at least 2 forum threads. Brody Anderson posted up, he thinks the new draft package is garbage. It turns a race into a giant game of follow the leader. His sentiments were affirmed by several others. So what do you guys think? Let's talk about the package this week.
Well, I'm going to throw my 2 cents in on this one because I've done 4 races at Dega, and it has literally been follow the leader until the last 2 laps. And then people start breaking off to try to make moves. Other than that, a lot of checking up. I don't know if it's the bubble or what it is, but you feel like you're just going to come up and you're just going to ram somebody in the back end, and you may not for the most part, but you get that sense of it. So then everybody checks up, and then of course people get all out of whack, but then everybody just goes right back to single file for 70 plus laps. It gets kind of boring
David, you had a really specific feedback about starting on the outside in that second line. Tell us what you thought.
Yeah, I started off hating this package, and now I'm in a position of mixed bag. Because last night some stuff went pretty realistic. We did have some guys that were able to get lined up and with about 6 or 7 cars and then get a run started and take it all the way to the top. And then one of them dove down to the bottom, and the others kind of stayed about 3rd row or 4th row for a little bit, and then a wreck happened. So I don't know if it would have been the same. So you can make the outside work if you line it up and set up a perfect run, but otherwise everybody's diving to the bottom. And if you start on the out, and on every restart, even at the end, it's just a race to the bottom to see when you can find a hole. And if you get, I restarted second in the race, and everybody was just diving to the bottom. And because I was right up there next to the leader and third place, got a really good start, I couldn't get back down until 16th, and nobody was staying out there. Is that the package, or is that just the fact that everybody thinks it's the package because it can run out there? I think it's close, but I think something needs to be done to make the outside just a little bit more even. Because right now, especially on a restart, if you are 10 rows back before you've even gotten to the back stretch, there's something not right there.
Now my question is, do you think with this package, and we were reading a note there that they said that this was worked on by actual cup drivers and our pro drivers and to work on it, and they said it's pretty close. Do you think the overwhelming majority of people complaining here will get something changed on it, or do you think we'll have to adapt and learn more with it?
Well, Morley pointed out that it's really not too dissimilar from the 2017-2018 package. And this is what you used to have to do, was basically just ride in single file on the bottom line and wait and hope. And that happened some in the previous package as well. But you could have 2 lines maintained side by side racing, and you still can in the truck. But I still haven't seen, starting with a restart, a race where both lines are able to stay. And you really almost need about 14 to 20 cars willing to just test and see if the outside line is ever going to be able to stay beside the inside line. Because if it can't stay beside the inside line when they're equal in numbers, it's not realistic.
Yeah, maybe it just needs tweaked. I don't know, but I honestly, I ran an A fixed early in the week, and I was dismayed that you couldn't pass, and I was concerned. I mean, normally you guys, I come into Talladega and I'm like, dude, I'm gonna win. I'm gonna kick butt. I am so confident. I was not confident, and you guys heard it. I was telling everyone, man, I'm worried. I was telling Greg, I'm really worried about this week and how we're going to finish. But it worked out, and I had a good finish, but it wasn't because I passed anybody to the right, that's for sure.
Well, is it also, is there the Coke race there this week or next week? Is it there, or is it somewhere else?
Oh, somewhere else.
So they're not even going to be able to see if there's a difference in the Coke series racing compared to some of the splits that we're in. I'd like to see them race it on, televised to see what it actually does for them. But it's kind of concerning that it's changed so much. But I don't know. Did we feel the same way at Daytona when they first released this? I never raced this package yet, so I don't know.
I don't think it was out at Daytona.
No, it wasn't.
Well, no, but I mean, they had it so that you could use it at Daytona, right? The 1 week.
There was a week during the regular 12-week season where I think there was a restrictor plate where they released it. So we got to try it, I think it was 3 weeks ago or something. So we kind of had an idea of how this week was going to go coming in. I don't know.
Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say, I think maybe it was broken before, even though it was funner before because you could pass. Maybe it wasn't realistic, and, Brad Keselowski pretty much said this is how it works.
Well, see, like for me, like I raced, it was an A Open, and it was like 3 to go in second, and I didn't feel like I had, enough to even get around in first place. And had it not been for a lap down car that was a little bit ahead, I was pulling his draft, and a car behind me, I would have never made the pass to get the win. So, I mean, it may be realistic, but it seems like if you don't have, someone going with you, you're not going to do anything with it.
All right, we got a couple quick hits, and we got to move on. We got a ton of hardware. The first quick hit here is help wanted. iRacing is hiring a quality assurance tester full time. Man, I'm tempted, but at the bottom it says you do need to be available to work at the Boston office. So that means you have to live there.
Who's moving?
I'm not moving. And then David, 4 hours of Charlotte.
All right. Greg West has announced that we have the 4 hours of Charlotte special event. It's going to be iRacing teaming up with the National Multiple Sclerosis Society on Saturday, July 31st, and they're going to add this brand new race to the special events calendar. It's going to be the first or inaugural 4 hours at Charlotte, benefiting the National MS Society, and it features the Global Mazda MX-5, the RS3, Audi, the Porsche 718 GT4, as well as the BMW M4 GT4 and the McLaren GT4, all on the Charlotte Motor Speedway, and it's going to mark iRacing's first partnership with a nonprofit organization for a special event. So this is going to be pretty neat. This is, I think, is the first endurance event at Charlotte, as other than maybe the Endurance Le Mans series, but the first one that's really on the special part of the calendar.
That should be a cool event. I'm looking forward to maybe we get a team together and run that, or at least two of us.
People, 4 hours.
Yeah, that's almost the class of cars that you see in is it the Michelin Pilot series, except for the MX-5, I think.
Yeah, it's like the Challenge series.
Sign me up.
Yeah, they're doing this a little different than a typical special event because there's two fast repairs in there, and there's some prizes too. You can get a SimLab Race X Pro chassis as a prize, or a Fanatic Club Sport Wheelbase 2.5, and a Podium steering wheel, or a 300.
Yeah.
I guess they have.
Does anybody still want that 2.5 with the recent news?
We haven't got there yet. Don't spoil the news. I was going to say there's I guess Chad Knaus is going to be headline some of the special guest celebrities that they got too for the broadcasts.
All right, podcast housekeeping notes. Don't forget the Aftermath podcast. Get it. It's a separate feed. And don't forget our new website, iRacersLounge.com. You guys can visually follow along to what we're talking about. And we have a coupon code over at Midwest Simulations. It's iRacers Lounge for 10% off of your spotlights. We are on the Performance Motorsports Network. And Brian, fantasy.
All right, guys. So after this past race at Richmond, Resdog is still at the top of the leaderboard. Looks like Adam Jocelyn is in 5th place. He's probably the top Tifosi guy, I think. Greg, you're back to 11th now. Didn't you drop a position? I think.
I pulled the Mike Ellis. I put my stuff in, or put my drivers in, and then just didn't even watch the race.
Tony Groves sitting at 13th. Mike, you're down to 16th now. Tony Rochette's at 18th. Jedi McFly, that's Chris Scales. He's 21st. Stephen Llewellyn's at 27th. And I am pulling up the rear again, 32nd place.
Oh, don't worry. I'm actually sitting 40th, so I just started in last week.
Well, I've been doing the whole season. I haven't missed a week, and I'm in 32nd. So, yeah.
Who are you picking?
Just terrible. I went pretty chalk this week, and I still didn't do all that well. I don't know. I got a lot of top drivers left over, so I'm hoping at the end of the year I'll be a little bit better. But
just remember, it resets at the playoffs, so use up your heavy hitters with 10 to go.
Gotcha. And I don't watch the races in live time, so that kind of messes me up too. I can't make garage adjustments or anything like that. I do watch the races, but usually later in the week.
Are we ready to talk some hardware?
Yes, sir.
All right. Your choice of assigning tops is pretty interesting again because you're the motion guy. So I guess I'll just read the headline and then let you talk. We've got Scorpion Series PT actuators. They run 4,000 or 5,000, and I'm guessing that's for the whole set.
Yeah, that's the whole set. These are recently upgraded. Barry Rowland did a review on these on the Sim Racing Garage. You can look that up. That's still on his YouTube channel in the Sim Racing Garage. And, these are pretty high-end actuators. And, so $5,000, it's on the high end for price-wise. So, you can check those out from the Scorpions are now available for ordering. They just became available.
They're cheaper than the D-Box.
Oh, they're way cheaper than D-Box.
Right.
Well, we had one last week that was about $1,000 less than this.
Right. Yeah. They're all over the price-wise for those. But I think the hardware market just got remade. Brian, let's tell us what happened this week.
Yeah, Fanatic had been teasing this new product that they were coming out with. It was kind of really hard to tell what it was, but just from their teaser, there's just a red light on a button. But it turns out it's going to be a new CSL direct drive wheelbase. So this is going to be, we'll call it a entry level direct drive wheelbase, but the price point is at $349, which is, there's no other direct drive wheelbases anywhere close to this. So, you're obviously going to be sacrificing a little bit with that price point, and it looks like the biggest thing is the strength of the wheel. It comes stock at a 5 Newton meter strength, where like the DD1 is, I think, 15, and the DD2 is 20 Newton meters.
It's actually
so it's
20, 25.
20 and 25. Okay, I gotcha. So yeah, so it's a lot later in the strength. It's not going to give you that super strength, but it should give you the fidelity that direct drive wheels come with. They do make a power adapter that will bump it up to 8 Newton meters, so that you can get a different power supply that'll make it a little bit stronger. So this opens up a lot of possibilities. I know Tyler from our team, he's running a G27. He's been thinking about getting a DD1, and now he may reconsider with this thing coming out and save some money and spread it out on some other peripherals that he's been looking at.
Why? Yeah. Why wouldn't you, like, in the market now? What's in the States? What is a G9? What is it? The 9, the Logitech that's
G29.
Yeah. What is it worth right now for that wheel? Is it
300?
Is it 300? So you're looking at you can get a direct drive base. Obviously it doesn't come with a rim or anything. So if you're already a Fanatic customer and you have something else, it's a bonus. So you basically get a new base for the price of all the lower grade wheel systems, right? Yeah, belt driven stuff. Like exactly. This right here, we expected when I started watching the video, I'm like, oh, okay, here comes a $700 wheelbase to try and be a different price point for it. And then as soon as that $349 comes across the screen, it's like, how do they make it like that? But
it's fanless.
Good for them.
Like my direct drive wheel, it costs $1,100 for it, and it's only 13 Newton meters. So 8 isn't that big of a deal to only spend. I guess with power supply, you probably spend about $500 total.
The other thing is David and I, we have the DD1. We don't run these at 100%. We turn them down so they don't run at that 20 Nm.
You can't. Yeah, you can't run it at 20 or 25.
You can, but
there's no
not,
way.
Yeah, I have done it for a while that way, but realistically, you can't.
But what we will still have is stronger peaks. So we're going to have a little bit more resolution and less clipping
That's true.
than this wheel will probably have. But as far as sustained feeling, it would be interesting to be able to actually get to test them side by side in rigs and see if you can actually feel like you're missing any of the details. Like when I'm running at Sebring, that thing is shaking like crazy, right? Going around Sunset.
So it's got a power button on the front, which is one of the teasers, which I really like. And it looks like a more robust power button than the current DD1 has on the back. It's fanless from what I understand. And it's got that same look and feel as the DD1 and DD2. It's just shorter. The other interesting thing is April 1st, April Fool's Day, they literally tweeted out a picture of this thing and said April Fools.
Yeah, it was the DD 0.5, right?
Right.
So, guys, just to give you a comparison, their belt-driven V2.5 is $549 without rims or anything.
You're not going to buy that ever. That's the thing.
No.
Those drives are going away, is what everyone is thinking.
Yeah, I mean that's as good a belt drive wheelbase as you can get, but still, it's $200 more than the direct drive now.
And nobody knows what the price point is for the increased power supply to get to the 8 nanometer version. How much more is that going to increase the 350?
What are you thinking? Maybe like 149? What? Maybe 100, 149, maybe 199?
I would say 100, maybe 150. I'd be surprised if it's 200 more.
I mean, if you get 5 nanometers with a $300 wheel, I guess maybe 100 to add 3 extra nanometers, right? I don't know.
All you're adding is the power supply. It's still the same motor.
No, I know. You're basically overclocking it type thing, right?
Right. Which, if I bought it, I would want that increased power supply. I'd pay extra.
Yeah,
for that.
I think it's worth it because when I did have that CSW 2.5, I would max out, especially in the turns. The force feedback would be maxed out, and it would go from. I would lose all fidelity once that. If you bring up that screen on iRacing that has the force feedback meter on it, it would max out, and you could feel that all the fidelity had gone away at that point.
Well, and the other thing with this is the motor designed at, like, obviously is it at 8 nanometers and then downgraded to 5, or is it a lower one that you can kind of push it a little bit further? Obviously it's got to be at the 8 probably, right? And then just downgraded because of power.
I think there's two different power supplies delivering different amounts of wattage.
Well, the DD1 and DD2 are basically almost the same, or the same exact motors, right? It's just how much power they have.
Right.
So it's pretty much, I think that's pretty much the same deal. You just a different supply of power increases the amount of power output that it has.
You detune it, like the DD1 is detuned down from the DD2. This is going to change the wheel market, guys. There's a lot of discussion this week on Facebook groups about this product. And a lot of people are like, man, I want to get it. A lot of people are also saying, based on Fanatec's reputation recently on how they handle stock and that kind of stuff, that you're not going to be able to find one of these to even buy them.
Well, and if you think about it, they kind of just did this after their competitors started VRS just dropped their hat into the field, and they've kind of got theirs out, and it's at a higher price point. Now you've all of a sudden taken it and changed the market. It's kind of a different thing here. But you're right, Mike. Like as soon as I saw this, I said they couldn't get enough direct drives made for it. Imagine something at this price point. They won't get this stuff made. They'll have an initial batch that's going to be like, say they have like 5 or 1,000 made right off the bat that they can sell, and then trying to get supplies after that would be it'd be on back order.
Well,
Yeah, I do have a feeling they're going to have supply issues when they finally do release this. So
I think
I'd recommend
VRS,
getting in early.
yeah, VRS and the other sim experience, the other wheel manufacturers like those, even they got to be quaking in their boots when they see this, because I think their market share just got taken.
Well, it's the quickest race to a cheap direct drive, I guess. It's kind of like imagine if, we talk about, what we had just above this, we had the D-Box stuff. Imagine if that all of a sudden starts dropping in price, like the first one to make a really good price one of those. It's the same thing of all these different products. Once you get the right thing at the right cost, you can take the market share, like you're saying, Mike.
Yep.
And another thing, this was fully compatible with all the other Fanatics stuff, their shifters and pedals that the other wheelbases are.
Now, in the interest of time, I'm going to jump around, guys. Greg, we're going to jump to the Thrustmaster launch as well, and let's cover that one.
Give me one sec here to get down to it. So, Thrustmaster had been teasing. We didn't know when they were going to release it, and all of a sudden, I guess the 20th of April, they finally announced their Ferrari.
We lost your mic.
Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. It's because of the button I think I'm using today. Anyways, on the 20th of April, Thrustmaster officially announced their new add-on wheel, the Ferrari SF 1000 edition. Now this, I had seen some videos of it, or not videos, some images of what people thought it would look like, and this is the kind of quality that they kind of needed for their F1, an F1 type wheel or GT/ wheel for that Thrustmaster base, and I'm glad that they've thrown their hat into this and added this rim to all the Thrustmaster customers out there.
Oh, it looks great, and it's full on Ferrari. Like when it turns on, you get the big old Ferrari logo emblem on the screen, and then the carbon fiber and everything. It really looks like a high-end wheel.
Well, and the fact that they have the LCD screen, like or the nice screen showing everything on it, and it works seamlessly if you look in the video here.
Now, David Tucker posted up some information about what he thought about it. He said it's a direct competitor to Fanatec's McLaren GT3 rim, and it's rumored to retail at $350. And this is the one where I was telling you the LCD panel, that he has a conflict with the API, but he's working with Thrustmaster, and they're going to have a patch in place soon so he can re-enable the display.
It's interesting that you hear on a new product like this for an iRacing staff member comment about it, right? They don't normally just come out when they see something like this and comment about it, but obviously because that API thing is kind of crucial to iRacing, he's made a comment about it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And he also mentioned out that anybody looking for a hand controls, this really suits the bill. Okay, so we're going to jump on to results because it's been a big week, so let's get to it. We got NASCAR iRacing Series last week, Richmond. And guess what, guys? I won P1 on Friday. My first win of the year. I ran top 10 all night with no incidents. But couldn't catch the leader, and I even had better tires. But at 50 to go, he pitted, and I didn't. And it went green from there. I was waiting for him to come back up through there, but he couldn't make it. He never got back up through there. So what a relief to finally get a win. I've had a really bad start to the year, and I've just choked on a bunch of races. So, boy, I mean, to get it done at Richmond, really happy with that. I was ecstatic. David, you got P11.
Yeah, it was top split. A lot of tough drivers. Garrett was in here just walking away with the race like they did it. Or no, it wasn't Garrett. It was Vicente, actually. Was just walking away with the race, right? Nobody had anything for him. But I was car 27 and just even had a 4 wide moment that Vincent posted. I didn't realize it was 4 wide, but the car in front of me, he got loose, and I just barely avoided actually even clipping him. And in the process, 2 other cars ended up beside us, and it came up with a nice 4 wide picture. I enjoyed Richmond. I ended up not getting home in time to run Sunday, but it blew my mind. I've never had such a good week at Richmond, but this week something with it just clicked with me.
Yeah, same with me. I don't know what it was. I happened to race with Tony Rochette. We were in the same split this week. He ran with me, and he got P5. He got caught in some wrecks. He mistimed the pace car and getting damage fixed and was 3 laps down. But he came back, comeback kid, made his way through there, back to the lead lap, and landed another top 5. And it was neat to share that win with him. We got to do burnouts, nose to nose at the start-finish line after the race, and it was real fun. How about Sunday Open? Brian, P4.
Yeah, it was a good run. I actually screwed up qualifying. I didn't practice enough with the qualifying set, and it was a lot looser than I was expecting. So I started like midway through the field, but the race set I thought was stable and pretty quick and was good on long runs. So, just by staying consistent, staying out of trouble, worked my way up to second at one point, but wound up settling at 4th after kind of a late restart. It didn't get a great restart, so I'm pretty happy with that finish.
Okay, Tony Rochette, P11. Man, Richmond, fun to race, but I got used and abused this morning. Got wrecked 3 times, 16X, and 17th after the checkered, going through the grass on avoiding a wreck at the line. Kyle, P7.
Yeah. Let me go back here and catch up on where I was at again.
Yeah, we were actually in the same split.
Yeah, we were, weren't we? I started out in P11. I had a good run until about halfway, and I just couldn't keep the tires straight. Fell back to the 20s, was able to work my way up to P7 in the final 10 laps. So, all in all, it was a pretty good race. Struggled there for a bit.
Not too bad, a top 10. All right, Sunday fixed. Brian, P14.
Yeah, this race was quite a bit different than the one earlier in the day. Just in the racecraft, people were just really over aggressive. A lot of yellows came out. I got tied up in a couple of other people's messes. But and then on lap 120, I came into pit and I had some damage. I got new tires and was working on the damage. I pulled out to stay ahead of the pace car, and then I cleared my tires on the exit of the pit road and came around to get some more damage work on, and they changed the tires again. They used up my last set of tires with 80 laps to go. So, but it didn't hurt me too bad because there's so many cautions in those last 80 laps. My tires weren't getting worn out, but by the end of the race, I just wasn't fast enough with those old tires. People had changed them along the way, and I wasn't good on restarts. A guy in front of me on a restart had old tires and spun out on the restart, and I didn't want to do that, so I wasn't getting great starts with those old tires, but held on to a P14. I was car number 34, so I felt pretty good about that being so low in that field.
Okay, and then Tyler Williamson, P13, started dead last and kept the car clean for the most part. Most passes were done under caution or in the pits. The longest green run we had was about 35 laps with everyone struggling to pass and keep traction. Talladega, Wednesday Open, David, P12.
Yeah, believe it or not, through some staying on the bottom for the other race, part of the race, and good pit strategy, I worked my way towards the top, didn't qualify very well. Then towards the end, I got that situation where I got hung out to dry from P2, actually, with a late caution. Then I had a guy just dive under the yellow line and to take me out. Car was down about 20 RPMs, but I got lucky on the green-white checkered with a lot of other people having trouble and managed to sneak back up to 12. So, decent day up in that split, decent points. It wasn't top split, but still, it's good enough that I can kind of just run the next races relaxed and not worry about, oh my God, I got to get a decent finish before the week's over.
Tom Dreiling ran with us. He wrecked out early. I'm not sure what happened with him. Bobby Jonas ran with us. I don't remember how he finished. But I'll tell you how I finished. I win. P1. Of course I won Talladega, right? Yeah, but that's 2 weeks in a row. Richmond and now Tally. I actually ran top 5 all week, all night. I never passed anyone on the right side at all. I basically slowly gained positions through pitting and pit strategy. Led the most laps all the way to the end. There was a late caution for a green-white checker I did not want to see, but because it had me on fumes. If there would have been another one, it would have ruined me for sure. I need to say thanks to fellow driver DB Bowman. Check out his Twitch at twitch.tv/DB Bowman. You can actually see my win there. I owe him a case of beer. He didn't race me at the end. He was P2, and he basically blocked for me and said, hey, no worries, I'm not going to race you. It's yours to take. I'm good right here in second. Class act. You don't get a lot of people in NIS who won't wreck their grandmother to win, and he's one of them. So thank you, DB, for allowing me to win. I think he knew that I was going to do whatever it took to win, and with him being in second and we can't pass, it would have probably wrecked all of us if he would have tried to win the race, and I think he was smart enough to realize that and didn't do it. I think the winning move was the last green flag stop. He actually got up next to me as we were getting in pit road, but I still beat him off with a great stop. That was one of the winning moves. The other one was when I took the lead initially. The only way I did it was Tony Rochette. I mean, having a teammate in the race was vital, especially here at Talladega. We were on the outside. He got behind me, and I could barely even hold the wheel without wrecking, with him right on my bumper pushing. But he did push me clear to the lead, and I pulled down. I thought he was clear, but he didn't pull down. And so from that point on, nobody could get by me, and I won the race. So thank you to Tony and DB for helping me win. Tony ended up P10. He said, helped Mike to the lead on the restart where he stayed, and I fell back. Last restart, cars in fronting, wrecked, killed my momentum with the lead pack, but still a good top 10. Then Thursday Open, we ran this morning. I ran and got P4, and I completely choked. I forgot to change out the Q set. I lost a lap taking the tape off. Eventually, I got a lucky dog and worked my way back up. Good fuel strategy put me up front near the end, but just had a bit of damage. I think it was like 20 seconds, and I of course couldn't pass at all. So P4. Tony, he got P9. He said he got his annual Dega pole. He got pole position along with the fastest lap and led 14 laps. A non-caution wreck in front broke me away from the main pack, and my 4-car line couldn't regain their track position. So P9 for him. Let's talk official racing. Kyle, why don't you start off? I know you won a race.
Yeah, actually, it was the A Open. I got I got P1. I started out in P11. I was the 29th car out of 29 cars, so I was dead last of the field. Ran top 10 until the pit cycle, and got up to about P5, and just waited my time until the last caution with 12 to go. was able to draft my way to second and just rode there until the last lap. Made my move to the high side, actually on the back stretch, and it took me all the way until about 300 yards for the tri-oval for me to get around first place. If it hadn't been for the guy behind me pushing and for the draft from a lap car, I probably would have never got that pass to get the win. But it was actually a really good feeling to win again there at Dega.
Yeah, that was a good win. I think I saw part of that on your stream. I also ran early in the week. I mentioned that before. iFixed. I got a P24, and this is where I was really worried, because I couldn't pass it all. I ran fifth the whole race, and then caution at the end, so it was green, white, checker. The guy was starting third, thinks he's going to let his buddy in, so he totally checks up, and I end up running over him, and we all just pile up and wreck. So don't be that guy. Let's talk league and hosted next. Fast Track Sim Racing League. I ran P11. I was running better than that, but got caught up with a yellow after my green flag stopped and ended up a lap down. And there were no other lucky cautions, so that's all I could get. Brian, this is the one you were spotting for me. Great spotting, by the way, and it's certainly a lot funner to race when you have a real spotter.
Yeah, I had a lot of fun doing that. It's the first time I really spotted for a full race like that, and it was quite a treat. I think I'm gonna do more of that.
And then Mike Morley wins. Him and Adam were up front with another couple guys, and they were the cars to beat for sure. And Adam gave him a run for his money, but Mike got it done. Well done, Mike, on the win. Adam ended up P3. Good run for him, too. It's fun to run with those guys. Then we had UCRA at Chicago. David, you missed the race, but I ran. Ended up P6. Great run. Considering I'm usually not very good with those guys. They usually, I'm out to lunch, but it was nice to get a nice P6. Brian, tell us about the truck series, OBRL.
Yeah, guys. So the OBRL trucks were at, this is the Aftermath, iRacers Lounge Aftermath truck series. And they were at Talladega, and Steve Thompson comes away with the win. Second place goes to Coco Puffs. Good run for Coco there. And then Andrew Hess finished in place.
And Steve put on his Facebook, this is his first restrictor plate win. I had no idea.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. He whenever we're in a restrictor plate race with him, he always starts out in the very back. He just kind of cruises around through most of the race and then tries to make a run at the end, which is kind of hard to do, but he managed to get it done this time.
One more race I ran, hosted. It was the Chris McGuire hosted Michigan Old Cup car with no plate. Man, that's a great combination. P7 in that race. I sure have fun with those guys and hosted. Come join us out there. Okay, and with that, final thoughts, Brian McCubbin.
Let's see. I made a new purchase this week. I wound up getting a MPI, the Max Pappas, the 15-inch oval rim.
What?
I really like the look at that. So yeah, it's up. It'll be here probably in a week or so. I'll check it out. I'm gonna get a one of those podium adapters, the hubs for it. So I'm gonna have a separate for that one. So looking forward to getting that, and looking forward to getting some Dega races in. I haven't hit that track yet.
Are you going to try to figure out like a push to talk to mount on the wheel, or?
Yeah, the Podium Hub has plugins for the buttons, and I have a couple extra buttons from the Universal Hub. The Universal Hub usually come with four sets of buttons, but I only use 2 right now. So I think those buttons are going to work with the Podium Hub, and I'm going to try that, see if it works.
All right, I'm officially jealous. David Hall, final thoughts.
I'm gonna bring it back up because somebody else brought it back up in our forum post that we've had going for a while. Costumes are broken. It is just ridiculous how you have to kind of just guess, is the costume going to come out or not when there's cars stopped on the track. All right. But for some reason, this issue hasn't gotten any kind of answer in tech support or through the forums. And I know multiple people that I've chatted with that have sent it in as a tech support ticket. So cautions are broken.
Okay, Greg Hectus, final thoughts.
I'm just I've been real busy painting up a new car for the Cup races here this week. I'm hopefully going to debut it tomorrow night and enjoy racing with it. But yeah, I really haven't had much racing in the last 7 days. I've been working stupid amount of hours and just can't seem to stay up anymore late in some of these nights. So Friday and Sundays seems to be the only time I can race.
Okay, very good. Kyle Pendygraph, final thoughts.
Sorry I wasn't too involved tonight. Just a little under the weather, but next week hopefully better.
All right. My final thoughts, man, I can't believe I won Richmond and now Talladega. And can I get another Talladega win before the week's over? We'll find out. But after getting my win last night, it was all about getting Tony his win today. And I told Tony, man, I am on your bumper. I am not going to pass you. You are going to win this race, and we're going to figure this out. But we tried. It didn't work. But, yeah, it's a real pleasure to race with teammates, to have Tony there for both of my burnouts at the end at the checkered flag. We got some nice video for social media. Go check out my TikTok and you'll see it. But, man, confidence is high, you know, after a couple wins in NIS. I'm just cocky as all can be and just loving life. So with that, hey, we'll see you on the track later.